Hello and howdy there. A couple days ago, I saw the new Ben Affleck film, Argo, and I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I think I'm going to give it a 9. I really liked the experience. At least the theatrical experience for me, I will give a solid 9. Argo is the true story taken from declassified files, several magazine articles, I believe a novel, again, directly from declassified CIA files of the Iranian hostage crisis in the early 80s. And I guess it started in the late 70s and turned into the early 80s. The Iranian hostage crisis. True story. This isn't so much about the people trapped in the embassy, but the 6 that managed to escape right in, when it happened, when the seizure happened. Hiding out in the Canadian ambassador's house, and basically for, gosh, I can't even remember what they said, months, or maybe almost a year, of hiding in crawl spaces and fearing for their lives. And so it's the story of the CIA trying to get the hostages, those 6, and the others as well, out of Iran without them being killed. It's very intense, and it had a excellent control of pace. I couldn't help but think of Looper, where I thought Looper was just this rocket. You're going right from the start. You're there and you're moving. Where Argo, it builds. It's more, I think, more skilled in terms of, that emotional manipulation that I thought Looper lacked. It starts off slow, you're getting to know all the characters, you're getting to know the situations, you're learning all this information, and then all of a sudden the screws start to turn, and, things start getting tense, and eventually by the end of it, you're on the edge of your seat. You're going insane with tension. And then after the film is over, you feel this giant sense of relief. When the film was over, it was by no means sold out. I would say the theater wasn't even halfway full. But when the film was over, I won't call it thunderous, but almost every single person in that theater was applauding with gusto. So, it was definitely very much a roller coaster in this exercise in tension and making you just squirm in your seat and wonder, will they or won't they? But yet, you do know that they will because it's a true story. You know how it ends, but yet, in the moment, you don't. It's that skilled that it takes a story that you technically know and tells it in a new way and in a way that you don't think you've heard it before, and you're not sure how it's going to end. What I really liked about it, and what really impressed me, was the humanity of it all. It never lost sight that everyone in this film and in the situation and in the history, they were all human. They were all flawed. They're all fragile. Both the good, the innocent, and the wicked. And it never loses sight of that. It never loses sight of that. It always keeps it human. It also is very... well, I just forgot the word. I don't want to say prescient, because it's not predictive, but it's parallel. It parallels what's going on today. This mistrust, this global mistrust. And you realize that, sure, things are bad now, but things have always been bad. And things probably always will be bad. And it makes it seem like, right now we're all obsessed well, maybe not all, that's a big word, but we're obsessed with the end of the world. You know, we think that, you know, global warming, 2012, whatever. There's a lot of, you know, of people who think the world is coming to an end. And they think that the evidence is clearly stacked up in front of them. But if you look at this situation, from their perspective, it's the end of the world. So it's like always the end of the world, you know, just depending on your perspective. And I found a great parallel, strong parallels to the situation that is going, how basically we're seeing the, not maybe the birth, but definitely in the more infant stages of our current clusterfuck in the Middle East. You know, we see, you know, some of that shaping up of how that kind of started, and now, you know, it's still going strong today. And, you know, nothing has changed. What has changed? Have we helped at all? You know, have they helped themselves? You know, just who does the good? You know, who's doing good? You know, one thing that disturbed me is just, again, the humanity of it all. I suppose it's common in, you know, I'm not sure what their religion is. I mean, it's easy to say they're Muslim, but I'm not entirely sure the main religion of Iran. But their common greeting, and I guess our salutation, not just necessarily greeting, but they say it hello or goodbye, just salutation, is, you know, peace be with you. And there's no peace at all. It's an incredibly violent, you know, paranoid society that, you know, seems on the verge of, you know, collapsing, civil war, and, you know, they're just talking about peace. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. And then they just kill people. So it's just, you know, disturbing, the hypocrisy of humanity. And that's what really got me. The backdrop of this film, and what else, another reason I really enjoyed it, is to get the hostages out of Iran, they construct a fake film. So that they can pretend that the 6 hostages are a film crew scouting a location, and then they can just subtly sneak out on an airplane. So you get to see this interaction between DC and Hollywood. You know, Ben Affleck goes out to Hollywood to, you know, get all these Hollywood guys in his corner, get this fake movie being made. So you get to see this behind the curtains somewhat of Hollywood. You get to, there's a lot of inside jokes with Hollywood, which, you know, leave some people out, but there were several times where I was laughing, where no one else was laughing. And I just thought that was, you know, due to my particular knowledge set. You know, there's lots of tongue-in-cheek, you know, wink-wink references to show businesses. And it is obviously clear, and I've just noticed that I haven't mentioned the cast at all. It's obviously clear that Ben Affleck loves movies, that he's always loved movies, that movies have helped raise him to shape him. Because every single actor in this film is recognizable. You know, maybe not incredibly, maybe not like you'll be able to name every film that he's in, but every single actor you're like, oh, that guy, oh, that guy, oh, that guy. It's like he assembled the dream team of character actors, because every face is recognizable. Ben Affleck is the director and star of this. I think he helped also co-write it. I'm not entirely certain. Again, it's mostly taken from true stories. There have been some character amalgamations and some general dramatizations in the film, but it's mostly true and it comes directly from the source reports. Ben Affleck is the main star. John Goodman and Alan Arkin are the Hollywood guys. They're both great. All the acting is great. It's all realistic. It's all true. All the acting is really good. Ben Affleck, you know, again, started off in Hollywood as an actor. He started out in commercials, worked his way up. He was a writer. You know all of his stories. So he knows how to work with actors. You know, he knows how to get a great performance out of an actor. And he does here pretty much across the board. So Ben Affleck, John Goodman, Alan Arkin. You got the dad from Friday Night Lights in there for a while. Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad. Who else? I can't really tell you any of the hostages' names. I didn't recognize them. I mean, you will basically recognize most of the people in this movie, and all of the acting is really good. It's very well directed. This again is a period piece. I felt that I was, taken right back there to the late 70s. Even all of the like the studio logo for Warner Brothers beforehand was, the 70s logo. It was like a film taken out of the 70s and shown today. It was like, even the filters on the lenses, the feel of the film felt like, a 70s film. I think that he probably watched, a lot of late 70s, early 80s films. French Connection really came to mind while watching this. I have a feeling that he had to have watched The French Connection several times while making this film. It was just really good, and I thought, it was so intelligent about keeping it this huge historical story about the people, about, what's at stake, this innocence that could be ripped away by, ignorance. And you really can't feel bad, you can't hate him just because, it's a war-torn land, and we can't imagine it, and it tries to get into that situation where this, there's just overall feeling of hopelessness in a way, that, everything is falling apart, and yet these people, this land comes together, bonds together over the death and destruction of, American citizens who they are, feel are, wrong. And not just American citizens, there's, Iranian citizens that are in the embassy when it's taken over, and, they're killed. Just right off the bat, they're hung, out in the streets for just like wanting to leave the country and wanting a better life. So, it's very challenging because you just want to say, oh, they're just evil. What are they doing? They have no sense. But yet, it tries to get at what their society and what their people have gone through, and that, the cultural difference, it makes it seem like, okay, but what if this were happening in America? How would we react? Would we react any differently? And no, we probably wouldn't. Because at the end of it all, we're just humans. We're just hairless apes, mostly hairless. And I don't think the film ever forgets that. It never lets you forget that. And again, I thought it was entirely skilled and very intelligent to show the parallels that are happening then with the parallels of happening now. Again, it felt like, this film could take place, tomorrow. But yet, it happened over 30 years ago. It was very funny. Again, it hit all the right tones. It was sad. It was funny. It just had everything. It just had everything. It's definitely a highlight of the year. There's nothing Hollywood loves more than Hollywood. So I'm guaranteeing that this will get a Best Picture nomination. because Hollywood loves to watch Hollywood, and this is in part a Hollywood story. So this will definitely be nominated for Best Picture. Maybe Best Director. I don't know about the acting stuff really, but it's got the behind the camera stuff, at least nominations, locked up. Really good soundtrack. Again, everything that takes you back to the 70s is there. So it's got really good music, really good set design, costume design, hair and makeup. Again, everything. It's a period piece, and the crew rose to that challenge. I don't really know what else to say. I think it's very important that you see the film. I think it's definitely a highlight of the year. You should see it in the theater. See it with a bunch of people, because that tension is going to ramp up, and you're going to have a great communal experience. I did. Again, lots of applause at the end. I'd say the most applause at the end of the movie than I can remember in some time. You know, there was a round of applause at the end of my first viewing of The Master, but I thought that was more like polite applause. You know, people thinking, you know, that it was better than it actually was. You know, being, oh, I just saw a Paul Thomas Anderson film, I better applaud. That's the kind of applause that movie got. But this, you know, was rousing. You know, rousing. So I definitely highly recommend Argo. I think you definitely should see it on the big screen. It will probably come close to you. I don't see, if it hasn't already, why it wouldn't. But I think it's definitely one of the best of the year, and I think deserving of a solid 9. So thank you very much. That's Argo.